Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. Retold by Jenny Dooley.
Chapter 4. Oliver meets Mr. Brownlow. When Oliver opened his eyes again, he was in a clean, comfortable bed, and an old lady was sitting near him.
"Where am I? Who are you?"
he asked.
"You're in Mr. Brownlow's house. I'm Mrs. Bedwin, the housekeeper. You've been very ill for many days. Lie quietly now, dear, or you'll be ill again."
She stroked his hair and gave him a cool drink. A few days later, Oliver was well enough to get up. He sat downstairs in Mrs. Bedwin's sitting room and looked at the picture of a young lady on the wall.
"Do you like that picture, dear?"
"Yes, the lady's face is so beautiful, but her eyes look sad."
"If the picture makes you sad, you mustn't look at it. I'll move your chair so that you can't see it."
She moved Oliver's chair to the opposite side of the room, below the picture. At that moment, Mr. Brownlow came in.
"How are you, my dear?"
he asked Oliver.
"Very well now. Thank you, sir."
Mr. Brownlow smiled at Oliver. Then suddenly his face changed. He opened his eyes wide and stared at the picture above Oliver's chair.
"Mrs. Bedwin, what's this? Look at the boy's face. Look at the picture."
Oliver's face was exactly like the face in the picture. The next day when he got up, Oliver looked for the picture, but it wasn't there. Mrs. Bedwin noticed him looking at the wall.
"I've taken the picture away because it made you sad. When you're well again, I'll put it back."
Oliver was happy at Mr. Brownlow's house. The kind old man bought new clothes for him, and Mrs. Bedwin gave him good food. One evening Mr. Brownlow wanted to see him. So Oliver washed his face, Mrs. Bedwin combed his hair, and then he knocked at the door of Mr. Brownlow's study. This was a pleasant room, full of books. Mr. Brownlow was sitting at a table by the window, reading.
"Come in and sit down, Oliver. I want to talk seriously to you."
"Oh, please, sir. Don't tell me you're going to send me away,"
said Oliver, and his eyes filled with tears.
"No, my dear child. If you're a good boy, I'll never send you away. I want to hear your story. Tell me the truth, and don't be afraid."
"Well, I don't really remember very much, but..."
Oliver just started to tell Mr. Brownlow his story when they heard a knock at the door. It was Mr. Brownlow's friend, Mr. Grimwig. Mr. Grimwig was a fat old man who walked slowly with a stick. He didn't like boys.
"Hello, what's that?"
he said when he saw Oliver.
"This is Oliver Twist, the boy I told you about. He was just telling me his story."
Mr. Grimwig put his head on one side and looked at Oliver out of the corner of his eye.
"Don't trust that boy, Mr. Brownlow. He'll tell you a pack of lies or I'll eat my hat."
"I do trust him, Grimwig."
At that moment Mrs. Bedwin came in with some books.
"Tell the boy who brought them to wait,"
said Mr. Brownlow.
"I want to send some books back to the shop."
"It's too late, sir. He's gone."
"Why don't you let Oliver take the books?"
said Mr. Grimwig.
"Oh, yes, let me go, sir."
Mr. Brownlow didn't want Oliver to go out alone, but he wanted to show Mr. Grimwig that Oliver was a good boy and that he trusted him.
"Very well. Oliver, take these books and this money and bring me 10 shillings change."
"Yes, sir, thank you. I'll run all the way."
Oliver ran out happily with the books and the money. Mr. Brownlow looked at the clock.
"He'll be back in 20 minutes.
"Do you really think he'll come back?"
said Mr. Grimwig.
The boy has new clothes, £5 and some books. He'll go straight back to his friends, the thieves, and laugh at you. If that boy comes back here tonight, I'll eat my hat.
20 minutes passed, then half an hour. It grew dark and Mrs. Bedwin lit the gas lights. She sent the servants out 20 times to look for Oliver. In Mr. Brownlow's study, the two old men sat in silence and looked at the clock. Oliver didn't come home.